Have you ever met a person and felt a special connection between the two? An attraction like two other magnets is attracted to each other. I was lucky enough to meet such a man, and I thought that he was my perfect match. But fierce facts often defeat us at the most unexpected times. I'm Jenny, 26 years old. I have had countless bad relationships, and I've almost lost faith in love. Betrayed, kicked right among of a public place, being stood up right in the first date. Yes, I've been through all of them. Sometimes I think each of my loves can be made into a tragic romance film, and the sales will certainly not be bad. However, 2 years ago I met Dan, and the light of love once again illuminated me. He is a very wonderful man, manly, polite, gallant, honest, funny, everything I want from a boyfriend. He has enough, and he is even more than that. He was my perfect half, the half that I always was looking for. I still remember the first time we met. We met each other at a bookstore, because both of us are genuine nerds. I was engrossed in looking at the bookshelves to find the book I wanted to buy, and when I saw it, I was overjoyed. I tried to reach for the book, and at the same time there was another hand intended to take the book as well, and our hands touched. Right from that moment of light touch, I felt an electric current running through my body. I turned to look at him, and immediately felt my heart beating faster. Someone I've never met, but I felt like I've known him for a long time. God, it's all like a scene in a romantic movie. We made friends from that fateful meeting. We talked extremely well. The topics we cared about were exactly the same. Our affection for each other was becoming more and more, and after only 3 months of getting to know each other, we decided to move towards a love relationship. Just like the other couples, there were arguments between us sometimes, but we could never get angry for more than an hour. Friends all admired our affection. You two are truly a godsend. I wish I could find a man who loves me as much as Dan loves you, but you two feel similar to each other too. Yes, he and I look very similar. Most of our friends were surprised to see us together for the first time. Not only are things like skin color, hair color, but even our eyes, nose, and mouth are similar. We sometimes joke that when we are opposite to each other, it's like seeing our own transsexual version. Sometimes it's more romantic than we'll say, because we are each other's twin flames. Having been in love for almost 2 years, he proposed. A romantic dinner under a starry sky, candles, flowers. Dan knows what I want, and he even made it more wonderful than my best dream. Everything was perfect. And of course, after he spoke, "Will you marry me?" I cried a lot and tried to answer, "Yes, yes, I will." That night still kept in my mind every single smallest detail. After he proposed, we decided it was time for our parents to meet. We thought it would be a great dinner and our parents would be surprised to hear that we are getting married. I didn't expect we would receive a much bigger surprise from our parents. Dinner took place in our apartment. Dan's mom came first, and I was happy to see her again. Every time I see Dan's mother, I always feel inexplicable warmth. A few minutes later, my parents came. And the moment my parents and Dan saw each other, I still could not forget the shocked look on their faces. "Isn't Sophia?" my father asked. Sophia? Dan's mother was equally stunned. "Mr. and Mrs. Khan?" "Yes, we are." Dan's mother hurriedly covered her mouth and gasped, "No, it's impossible." Dan worriedly went to hug his mother. "What's wrong, Mom?" Dan's mother looked at me and then cried and went to hug me. "My daughter! I did not expect to be able to see you again." I have never felt so difficult to understand. What? Daughter? Why was Dan's mother calling me her daughter? I smiled wryly. "Sir, the future daughter-in-law is right. Me and Dan are engaged." "What? It cannot be." My parents prevented me at the same time. I was startled. "Oh my God, what nightmare is this?" my mother said and sobbed. My father hurriedly hugged my mother. Dan and I also predicted that there would be tears, but not like this. Should be tears of happiness for our business, not a mess that no one understands like this. Finally, after our two mothers calmed down, they all sat down at the dining table, and Sophia began telling the story of the past. That year, when she was pregnant with her second child, her husband died in a traffic accident. With little financial resources, Sophia had no choice but to force me to someone else to adopt. And the infertile couple, the Khan family, was the one that my mother chose to give me away. My ears buzzed after hearing the whole story. Then my head began to ache violently, as if it was trying to get rid of the story Sophia told. I hugged my head and screamed, "Ugh!" Dan hugged me. I could feel his body trembling as well. "A nightmare! What a nightmare!" My mother, my adopted mother, said and sobbed. I wished it was just a nightmare, but now, regrettable, all are true, 100% true. God, no wonder why me and Dan look the same. And the strange attraction we felt when we first met, because we are half-siblings. God, it turned out all was warned, just because we deliberately ignored it. Even so, Dan and I still clung to one last glimmer of hope, that there might have been some confusion at the time of adoption. Maybe I'm not Sophia's biological daughter. Dan and I went for DNA testing, and when the results sheet was in my hands, it was time for our last little hope to dissipate. The results on the test sheet have confirmed that we are brother and sister. There was nothing left to dodge anymore. "It's okay, my sister. Everything is fine." Dan smiled and told me so, but I know behind that smile is an unbearable pain. I broke down and cried nonstop. Dan still tried to smile and drove me back to our apartment. He coaxed me to sleep, and that was the last time I saw Dan. The next morning when I woke up, our apartment was almost empty. Not only Dan, but all his belongings were gone, even our shared photos and the engagement ring he gave me. After only one night, a flesh and blood human suddenly dissipated, like a soap bubble. I was very panicked. I called Sophia, but she had no idea where Dan was going. I called all his friends, but no one had any information. I was desperate and alone. I laid in bed and cried, not eating nor drinking. I just wanted to free myself from this world. But just when I was about to give up my life, I received Dan's message. "Sister, stop looking for me. Live well, and find the man who truly belongs to you." It felt like even though Dan wasn't next to me, he continued to watch and protect me. That message from Dan, along with my parents' encouragement, made me want to lift myself up. From that day on, I continued to live as if nothing had happened. I tried to be happy, tried to be optimistic. I had to try to be strong, even just pretending, because I still have to take care of Mother Sophia instead of Dan. I know she feels much more miserable than me, but it was all a fake mask to reassure my parents and friends. I died inside. I could not open my heart again. Dan took my heart within him. I just hoped that one day Dan will come back, and even though we can only be together as brothers, little sisters are okay. I miss him so much. Dan, please come back to me.